All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's go back on the record in the state of Georgia versus Lacy Aaron Schmidt, case 2011 CR 0436. The chief bailiff has advised that the jury has reached a verdict. And any issues to take up in advance of that?
None from the state, Your Honor. No, sir.
Ladies and gentlemen, understand that I understand on lots of levels that this is a very tense moment for everyone. It is absolutely essential, and the court is absolutely requiring that there be no outbursts, you cannot make any noise at all, or do anything that would in response to the verdict being read. I know you're going to feel tremendous emotion, regardless of whether you're part of the defendant's family or whether you're part of the young victim's family. And so if you're in Alana's family or if you're Mr. Schmidt's family, it's the same rules apply, that you cannot have any outbursts, you can't say anything out loud. I'll ask the Sheriff's Department to step in. If anybody is disruptive in that regard, the Sheriff's Department will do their job. Everybody clear on that? Does anybody have any questions about that? Thank you. And Madam DA and Ms. Dunkar, is there any objection if we proceed directly to sentencing if there is in fact a guilty verdict?
Yes, Your Honor. We would ask for time to prepare the full mitigation defense if there is a guilty verdict.
All right, thank you. And would you anticipate that something that can be done within the week or 10 days?
Yes.
All right. Thank you, and that would also give the court an opportunity to address some other issues that I have. We will now. By the way, and I'll just make sure everybody understands that if the verdict is a verdict of an acquittal on the capital felonies, but a verdict of guilty on the lesser count, then this court would not technically have jurisdiction over that issue, and so the court would have to transfer that down to juvenile court. Okay? All right. Let's bring the jury in, please. Yes, I need alternates as well. If we can get John to bring the alternates down. All right, thank you. Everybody can be seated, please. Mr. Foreperson?
Yes, sir.
I'll ask you these questions. Has the jury reached a verdict?
Yes, sir, we have.
Was the verdict unanimous, sir?
Yes, sir, they were.
And has the verdict form been filled in and signed and dated by you?
Yes, sir.
Thank you, sir. If you'd hand that over to the bailiff, please. Thank you. Provide that to the court, please. Thank you. Thank you. Madam Clerk, would you publish the verdict, please?
Yes, sir.
Please rise.
In the Superior Court of Columbia County, Georgia, in the case of the State of Georgia versus Lacy Aaron Schmidt, case number 2011 CR 0436, as to count one, we the jury find the defendant, Lacy Aaron Schmidt, guilty of malice murder. As to count two, we the jury find the defendant, Lacy Aaron Schmidt, guilty of felony murder. As to count three, we the jury find the defendant, Lacy Aaron Schmidt, guilty of possession of a firearm during the commission of a crime. As to count four, we the jury find the defendant, Lacy Aaron Schmidt, guilty of theft by taking. This signed this 9th day of February 2012.
Signed by the foreperson?
Signed by the foreperson.
Thank you very much. All right, well, ladies and gentlemen, y'all have reached your verdict. Let me just inquire, do you decide that the jury be polled?
Yes, Your Honor.
Thank you very much. We'll do that. Ladies and gentlemen, the jury, because of the nature of the publicity, I'm going to decline to call you by name, but I'm going to point to each one of you. And if I happen to point, I don't think I'm going to point at the alternates, but if I do, just say, I'm an alternate. But let's do this. And let's begin with you, Mr. Foreperson. If you would, sir, let me ask you three quick questions. Was that your verdict in the jury room?
Yes, sir.
Was it freely and voluntarily made by you?
Yes, sir.
Is it still your verdict?
Yes, sir.
Thank you, sir. And you, please, sir. Was this your verdict in the jury room?
Yes, sir.
And was it freely and voluntarily made by you?
Yes, sir.
Is it still your verdict?
Yes, sir.
Thank you, sir. And please, ma'am, was this your verdict in the jury room?
Yes, sir.
Was it freely and voluntarily made by you?
Yes, sir.
Is it still your verdict?
Yes, sir.
And, sir, was it your verdict in the jury room?
Yes.
And was it freely and voluntarily made by you?
Yes, sir.
Is it still your verdict?
Yes, sir.
Thank you, sir. And you, ma'am, was it your verdict in the jury room?
Yes, sir.
Was it freely and voluntarily made by you?
Yes, sir.
Is it still your verdict?
It is, sir.
Thank you. And you, sir, was it your verdict in the jury room?
Yes, sir.
Was it freely and voluntarily made by you?
Yes, sir.
Is it still your verdict?
It is.
Thank you. And as to you, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Was it your verdict in the jury room?
Yes, sir.
Was it freely and voluntarily made by you?
Yes.
Is it still your verdict?
Yes.
Thank you. And you, ma'am, was it your verdict in the jury room?
Yes.
Was it freely and voluntarily made by you?
Yes.
Is it still your verdict?
Yes.
Thank you. And you, please, ma'am, was it your verdict in the jury room?
Yes.
Was it freely and voluntarily made by you?
Yes, sir.
Is it still your verdict?
Yes, it is.
And was it your verdict in the jury room?
Yes, sir.
Was it freely and voluntarily made by you?
Yes, sir.
Is it still your verdict?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. And ma'am, was it your verdict in the jury room? Was it freely and voluntarily made by you?
Yes, sir.
Is it still your verdict?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. And you, sir, is it your verdict in the jury room, or was it your verdict in the jury room?
Yes, sir.
Was it freely and voluntarily made by you?
Yes, sir.
Is it still your verdict?
Yes, sir.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Ms. Dunkar. Anything further?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that concludes your service in this case. I know it's been a very difficult case, it's been a long case, and the court expresses its appreciation for the fact that y'all were willing to give us 4 days of your week and to serve this very important function of being a juror when called upon to do so. And as I said at the outset, that the only reason our legal system works is because good people like yourselves are willing to serve as jurors, and regardless of what your verdict might have been in this case, your service is appreciated. And the court thanks you, and all the court, I'm sure all the court's entourage and the attorneys thank you as well. Now, let me just say, at this point, the case is concluded for today. The issue of sentencing, the defense counsel has requested additional time in the event that there had been a guilty plea, some additional time to assemble some evidence that they would like to present to the court by way of mitigation in sentencing. And so we'll give them, how long before we'll be back here? Can we get back quicker? All right, it'll be set. I'm sure the newspaper will probably have the date for the date for sentencing. And if y'all desire to attend, you're certainly welcome to attend. And there's certainly no necessity for that. But if you'd like to, y'all are certainly, like any other citizen in the community, you have that right. Now, one other issue, Ms. Payne, you have something you want to address?
The state would just object to that, and being that we have not been served with any type of mitigating witness list, and obviously reasons that I've stated before.
I understand. The court overrules that objection, and will give the defendant an opportunity to, if they want to present evidence of mitigation that's not immediately available to them, which is what they represented to the court. I will give them that opportunity. These are as you know, they're very serious charges with carry very serious sanctions, and so we need to give her that opportunity.
Served with those witnesses that they do intend to present.
Yes, ma'am. And Ms. Dunkar, you'll do that, will you not?
Yes, sir.
All right. As soon as you've identified them well in advance of the sentencing hearing.
Yes, sir. If she wants 10 days notice as would needed for most witness list, it would have to be more than 10 days. The sentencing would
I
need
would
to be
just
more
ask
than
that
10
y'all
days.
coordinate that, and I would just comment that Ms. Dunkar and Ms. Payne, historically, y'all been on opposite sides of lots of cases, and y'all can coordinate that through the court's office, and so that you have a date that also gives everybody enough time to do what they need to do. All right, that's fine. Ladies and gentlemen, one other issue remains. That concludes the trial of this case for today. But one other issue remains, and that is that that, as you know, and none of your photographs have been taken, and your names have not been used. And I've usually, when we conduct a poll of the jury, we call you by name, and in this case, I've avoided that. But in session, which is formerly Court TV, it is a division of CNN. They have requested that the court provide them with a few minutes to conduct an interview rather than calling you and trying to get an interview scheduled, those types of things. They would like to invite you, and this may be something that y'all might prefer to an invitation y'all might like to extend yourself, but they would ask the court for permission to be able to have a few minutes of the courtroom, use of the courtroom, to have kind of like a little press conference that maybe ask you questions, or if y'all desire to do that. Now, let me just make sure that y'all are clear on this. You are under absolutely no duty. There's no expectation that you'll say yes or no. It's whatever you want to do, whatever you feel comfortable doing, and if you'd rather not participate in that, you don't have to participate in that. Some of you may desire to participate in that, but it's absolutely entirely up to y'all. And in fact, if you like, you don't have to make that decision right this second, because I can give you an opportunity to step back in the jury room and think about it, what you want to do. But it needs to be an individual decision, and it's whatever you're comfortable with. And if you think there's something you'd like to say, and perhaps the little producer, I don't mean little producer, but the producer was here just a moment ago. Is he still here? Oh, there he is. Do you want to come around, sir? And I may be remiss to not recall, but it was Jim, I think, was it not? And I don't recall Jim's last name, but he set all this up, and he's the producer of this presentation. But I'd just give an opportunity just to extend an invitation personally. But again, like I said before, it's absolutely, you're still my concern, and you absolutely have no duty or obligation, or I mean, if you just decide for any reason that you don't want to participate, you're absolutely free not to participate. And so you want to say something?
I've done this many times before with other child.
And let me also make sure you understand, too, so there's clearly that if somebody were to contact you at home or something of that nature, that you're under no obligation to say anything to anybody. You just decline. And I will also suggest to you that if anybody is too assertive, then I would ask that you notify the sheriff's department or the court, and then we will address that issue ourselves, because we're concerned. We don't want to have any of our jurors harassed or anything of that nature. And so everybody has got to be very polite and respect your if you decline that, you absolutely have to respect that. So with that having been said, everybody that's here is now excused, and the defendant will be taken into custody. And the family is excused, but we would like to do this in an orderly way. And first, we'd wanted to excuse the defendant's family. We'd like to ask that the defendant's family be excused first. Ladies and gentlemen, allow me please to call the case of the state of Georgia versus Lacy Aaron Schmidt. This is indictment 2011 CR 0436. The record reflects that Mr. Schmidt's present, along with counsel. The district attorney is present. And y'all ready to proceed? Ms. Duncan, are you ready?
Yes, sir.
Ms. Payne, you ready?
Yes.
Thank you very much. Mr. Schmidt, you have been convicted after a trial by jury of the offenses. That's the count one of the offense of malice murder. As the count two, guilty of the offense of felony murder. As the count three, guilty of the offense of possession of a firearm during the commission of a crime. And guilty as the count four of the offense of theft by taking. And so we're before the court today to conclude that matter and for sentencing. You ready to go forward yourself? You're not ready? Sit down and spend a second with me, with your attorney.
Thank you.
Okay, so I'll ask you now, after having talked to your lawyer, are you now ready to go forward?
Yes, sir.
Thank you, sir. You can have a seat. Well, let's begin by offering the state the opportunity to present the evidence in aggravation.
Your Honor, well, first of all, I would just like to place on the record that it has been 22 days since the jury returned its verdict.
Yes, ma'am.
It was requested on the date of the verdict that this sentencing hearing be continued until a later date so that the defense would have an opportunity to provide the state with a list of mitigating witnesses and present that evidence to Your Honor. The state was not provided with any information as to other than family members of the defendant, but there was no professional witness subpoenaed on behalf of the defense to be here today. There was no psychologist, social worker, as initially perhaps had been indicated as a possibility as mitigation for the state. Your Honor, obviously, as I normally do, I'd like to reserve the family statements till the end, as Your Honor is well aware of the statutory requirement that the victim have the last word. But just to being that it has been 22 days since the verdict was rendered in this case, I think that it is important for the court to recall the facts of this case, which do aggravate the situation here. We have, as the jury found, a malice murder conviction here. We have an individual who went to this house of a family that he knew very well in a very calculated manner with the intent to murder Alana Calahan. He went over there. He had stolen the firearm on a previous date. He went over there with the firearm loaded, cocked, and ready to go. Alana, by all accounts, never saw anything coming. She was sitting at her computer, uploading photos on Facebook, and based upon the trajectory of the bullet, it was apparent that she may not have even realized that anyone was standing behind her. She may have known that he was there, but she did not realize that somebody was standing behind her at the time that she was shot. She was 14 years old. Her life is over. Her family will never have another birthday with her. They will never have another Christmas with her. She will never graduate from high school. Her father will never walk her down the aisle. And in a case like this, it's very easy to forget about the life because you don't hear about the life that was lost. But this wasn't just any life to Aaron Schmidt. This was someone that, by his own words, was like a sister to him. So I don't want Your Honor to forget the fact that if this is what this person is capable of, taking the life of someone that by his own account he cared for very greatly, then it certainly aggravates the situation because what is he capable of doing to someone that he doesn't care about? But at the same time, this is about Alana as well. The sentence that Your Honor imposes should also take into consideration that this was not his first victim. Evidence at trial as well as the court records indicate that he had just about 30 some odd days prior to Alana's murder, he had just completed a juvenile sentence that had taken place, I believe, over a span of about 18 months for child molestation. So after he has the juvenile authorities attempting to rehabilitate him and transition him back into society to lead some sort of normal life, he murders Alana Calahan, and that cannot be ignored. At the age of 14, he had two victims, one with a lifelong impact, and one who doesn't have a life at all now. And that certainly aggravates the situation in this case. In addition to that, Your Honor, I also have additional research. I know there is recent The Supreme Court has recently taken up issues as it relates to juvenile life without parole, which is certainly what the state is asking for in this particular case. And I would like to distinguish this case from both Miller versus Alabama and Jackson v. Hobbs, which are the cases that the United States Supreme Court has granted cert to. And first of all, in both of those cases involve a mandatory sentencing scheme where essentially the court had absolutely no authority or no discretion to sentence the juveniles in those cases to anything other than life without parole because of the crimes that they were convicted of. I would also impress upon Your Honor that I believe that the reason that they took both cases as opposed to just one or the other was, and obviously this would be somewhat of a prediction, was to distinguish the cases, because in the one case you have the intended killer, but it was a mandatory sentencing scheme, and in the other case you have a mandatory sentencing scheme, but the juvenile was the accomplice. And I believe that if the Supreme Court did not intend to distinguish those two, that they could have just taken one case. They didn't have to take both of them, and they could have accomplished this. We're going to ban juvenile life without parole with just taking one of the cases. And I think it is significant that they essentially have taken two cases for juvenile life without parole. And that should be, we still have juvenile life without parole in Georgia at this time. And I certainly think that based upon all of the evidence in this case, that it does not appear that Lacy Aaron Schmidt has any chance of being able to be rehabilitated. And because of the fact that this was not his first victim, this was in fact his second victim, that does aggravate this situation. And juvenile, even though he is a juvenile, he did a very adult crime, and he was fully aware of what he was doing, and he did it in cold blood. And juvenile life without parole would be the only sentence that would be appropriate in this case, which is what the state is asking for. With that, Your Honor, I will defer to the defense counsel and reserve all of the ending comments to be presented to you by Alana's family.
Thank you, ma'am. Ms. Dunbar.
Thank you, Your Honor. I think that Ms. Payne certainly makes a good argument about the juvenile life without parole. And the two cases, as she's correct, were both that are currently in front of the Supreme Court are currently a mandatory sentencing scheme, both of those cases. However, the rationale for both Graham, which is the current only Supreme Court decided juvenile life without parole case, and Roper versus Simmons, which was the juvenile death penalty case, still apply to mandatory sentencing schemes and this case in particular. In Roper, the Supreme Court stated that the susceptibility of juveniles to immature and irresponsible behavior means their irresponsible conduct is not as morally reprehensible as that of an adult. Now, it does not take any culpability away from the juvenile, but it does point to the fact that there is a potential for rehabilitation. In this case, Aaron was taken out of, the juvenile case, he was taken out of a home and put right back in that same home. There was very little done to, in fact, rehabilitate Aaron. It was a case where probably there should have been more done to aid Aaron, given his life history that we heard at trial some of. And I do want some family members to speak today. Aaron's full-blooded sister, Elizabeth, is here, and she did live with him, obviously from his birth through to about a year and a half before this incident, or 2 years when she was actually removed from the house where Aaron was living by defax. They left Aaron there, but removed Elizabeth. And I think that this perhaps is the first chance that Aaron might actually have for some kind of treatment for rehabilitation. A life sentence does not mean that Aaron is going to be paroled in 30 years. A life sentence doesn't mean that Aaron will ever be paroled. It means that we are reserving the judgment about whether or not he is ever rehabilitatable if that's a word, if he's ever capable of being rehabilitated to 30 years, 35 years, 40 years down the road when we know whether or not he can or has been rehabilitated. At this point, he's a 14-year-old kid, and they make that argument in both Graham and Roper that basically kids are not fully formed yet. 14-year-olds, 15-year-olds have not fully developed. We don't know what he is, whether he is capable of being rehabilitated. Obviously, 30 years down the road, if the parole board decides that he has not been, he's not going to be released. A life sentence certainly can be a life without parole sentence. It is just the option that he may be paroled down the road. With that, I'd like, if Elizabeth will talk, I know she is very, very nervous about this. Stand up.
Oh, wow. All right. I'm just going to apologize for everything that has happened. But my little brother loved y'all as if he was, I'm sorry, I'm just really nervous about all this. But he loved y'all.
Ma'am, let me know. You can take your time. You're not under any kind of time constraints.
I'm sorry, there's just
yes, ma'am.
a lot.
And you can say anything that you want to say. And you can take your time. If you need a glass of water or something, that'd be helpful. Anything. It's important that you be as comfortable as you can be. Okay.
Okay.
All right.
But my little brother loved y'all as if you were his own family. He looked up to Mr. Calahan as if it was his father figure. He was a role model. He wanted to be in the military. He actually looked at as if he was his dad. Because my little brother has never actually had a father figure that was there for him, nor a mother. He called you mom and dad because he loved you. He wanted to be with you. There was actually one point in time when he came home and he asked my sister, he was talking to y'all, that you were thinking about adopting Aaron. Y'all was talking about something like that, and it brought up, and my sister got upset because she did not want him to be adopted. It came down to the point where Aaron wasn't really listening to my sister because he looked up to you as if he was if you were his parents. Okay? And he did love Alana as if he was his sister. He would have done nothing absolutely to hurt that little girl. Oh, God. I'm sorry, I just feel like I'm about to pass out.
Just briefly, Elizabeth, and thank you for talking. You were removed from your house with your mother. You were removed at the same time that Aaron was removed.
Yes, ma'am.
And where did you guys go? Where were you guys placed at that point?
We were placed with my sister.
And at one point, you were removed by defects, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am. I was removed by defects from my mom in placement of my sister because of living conditions and everything that has pretty much happened to me and my little brothers and sisters.
Okay. And when you were removed from defects, did anyone remove Aaron?
No.
And compared to, you moved from one situation where you were removed from defects into another situation where you were eventually removed from that situation by defects. You don't have to go into details. You don't have to say anything you don't want to say. But how was life for you and Aaron from the time you were 5, he was 8, when you left her with your mom, to the time that you were removed eventually by defects a second time?
Right before I went to foster care? Or?
Yes.
Let's do something that's maybe more comfortable. That as when people express just feelings and emotions and such, then there's not a necessity to have everybody under oath. But if we get into statements that are testimonial in nature, I think I'd be more comfortable if we had everybody under oath. And so why don't we do this, and just so that we don't have to stop and go through this each time, why don't I put, and you may or may not be called upon to testify by counsel, but let me just put the whole family on this side and the whole family on this side. Alana
Alana's family and also Ms. Schmidt's family, if I could have everybody just stand and raise their right hand and let's be putting an oath right now. Do each of you swear that the testimony you shall give in the matter that's now before this court will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? And as to this family?
I do.
And everybody said yes. Thank you very much. And as to this family?
I do.
Thank you very much. Everybody has taken the oath, and that's fine. Thank you. You might continue, Ms. Dunbar. I feel more comfortable this way. All right. Yeah, Ms. Elizabeth, you might continue with your statement.
Oh, wow.
Ms. Dunbar, why don't you ask her some questions?
Yes,
That might
sir.
make it easier for me. And I've got water over here if you want a glass of water or something, okay?
And I have tissues if you need tissue. When you were living with your half sister, were the authorities ever called out for any kind of physical abuse?
With my sister?
Yes.
Her thing was chastising. With a switch, green medicine from the Bible, spit it out, spoil the child kind of thing. At the time before she had taken the anger management, she used to throw things at us. And just when she was really upset and everything, she would basically call us out as if we were our parents and everything. And emotionally, that scarred us for Cheyenne, Aaron, myself, and everything. That's why my brother Cheyenne, he basically left us and doesn't really talk to me. He doesn't know how to handle everything but visit the family once in a blue moon. Aaron, on the other hand, when it came down to Aaron with his ADHD, he needed to be chastised when he did something wrong, but it's just the way my sister handled it. Sometimes it was beyond uncontrollable. It was like she was taking anger out on my little brother. Like one incident, my little brother accidentally broke a door. She was just yelling at us. She was just bizarre and everything. That the door was broken, but the kids that I was babysitting was stuck in the room. So she was going to go after Aaron with the vacuum cleaner extender, not a switch. She claims that it was a switch, but it was not a switch. She came after Aaron with the vacuum cleaner extender, that hard metal, that plastic, and I was yelling at her because she just wasn't listening at all. She was just absurd that the door was busted. And then she came after Aaron, and then she kept on yelling at me, "Don't talk to me like that, Elizabeth." But I just wouldn't let her handle the situation with her being that mad. So she came after me. My Aunt Gloria was there to witness the whole thing. My great nieces were there. They were screaming, and then they just walked out the house and went to their house. After the fact that I told them not to leave me there. It was just the way my sister handled some situations. And then that's a prior incident that had happened, and Aaron had bruises, and defects was called. And then that's where we went into anger management. Me and my sister and my little brother, through the whole incident at Sears, where he stolen video games with Thomas Pittman, our cousin, actually great nephew. And then we went into anger management. Aaron was doing fairly well. I mean, first time really in anger management. My sister went through it as well. After that, she stopped throwing things and she started handling things like a proper human being would. And then I had to go through it, and I just looked like a complete nut because I had no anger issues. I was just there to help my little brother because I loved him. And then after that, she claims that defects has taken away her privilege of chastising. So that's when she started grounding. And then apparently didn't seem to be working or anything, so she pretty much felt like she couldn't really do anything other than to tell us not to do something, and when we do it again, she'd tell us over and over again until it came to the point where she had to take matters into her own hands.
And just if I could clarify, Elizabeth, when you stated that DFACS took away her right to chastise you, you mean physically punish you.
Yes, ma'am.
And you had mentioned also earlier that she would use your father and your mother as a means to emotionally punish you.
Yeah.
Saying that you were like your mother and your father. And that was because your father was your mother's stepfather, is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
And she was 13 when she had Cheyenne and 16 when she had you? 18 and 21 when she had Aaron. Is there anything else you want the court to know about Aaron or...
There's just so much. I'm just gonna shut up now. But there's too much behind Aaron to actually for this to be over or anything. I'm just gonna shut up.
Okay.
All right, and Ms. Elizabeth, if there are things that you want to add, or if your counsel wants to, or your brother's counsel wants to give you an opportunity, she's certainly free to do that. We're not under rules like you get one shot at saying something and that's it for today. Because today's the one and only chance this court has to sentence, and it's the one and only chance the court has to get it right. Okay? All right, thank you. Ms. Dunkar?
Thank you. And I believe Pastor Ham, who knows Aaron through the church and through Miss Chitty, would also like to speak.
Yes, sir. And your name again, please?
Warren Ham.
Yes, sir, Mr. Ham.
First of all, let me do the same. Mr. and Ms. Calahan, I am so very sorry for the loss of your daughter. I have been with several families over my years in ministry who have lost their child, which just isn't supposed to happen, but none whose life had been taken from them at such a young age. Aaron, you have heard me say many times from the pulpit that God will forgive anything and everything we have done, because before Him we're all guilty. However, you know that I've also said, whatsoever man soweth, that shall he also reap. You know that and we've talked about that. I told Aaron in the times that I visited him that he would do some serious time. But I also believe, because I've known this family for a little over 4 years now, that there is redemption in Aaron. I believe he is redeemable. I would only ask, Your Honor, that Aaron be given mercy, as we all desire and need. Thank you.
Thank you, Pastor. Ms. Dunkar?
Yes.
Thank you, Pastor. Did you want to talk? And this is Daphne Pittman, a cousin aunt of Aaron.
He calls me aunt. He's actually my uncle. And my son, Thomas, is his very best and dearest friend. Our family's been very affected by this whole thing. There were 2 families that lost their children that day. Can't say how sorry we are for the loss of Alana. It's affected not only our family, but the whole community. Community which we've lived in and supported all my life. I've lived in Harlem. I've known Aaron since he was a baby. And I've watched him grow. He's had a very difficult beginning. He's had a very difficult 14 years up to this point. He's had a very difficult year this past year. He's got a very difficult life ahead of him. And I ask the same thing, that he be shown mercy, because he is 15. He is just a child. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor. And I did not use Mayo. Miss Mayo, who's also a parishioner in Aaron and Aaron's church, would also like to speak on his behalf.
Ms. Mayo.
I've known Aaron for just about 4 years, and I want to tell y'all, as a family, my heart breaks for you, as does the whole community. We've prayed for you, and it just breaks. I cannot imagine what you're going through. What I wanted to speak very shortly about Aaron was my experiences with him in church. When I first saw this boy walk in the church, he was covered with just a cloud of darkness around him. You could tell he wasn't a happy person. He wasn't real confident, and he really didn't want to be there. And after our youth pastor came up and made him welcome, and we all made him welcome, and giving him a hug was like hugging a pine tree. And but as time went on, he started to relax and started to enjoy being there, and he'd have a big old grin whenever he saw Miss Terry, and he would initiate the hug with me. He just transformed. We had a little gathering at the church on the outside of the fall carnival, and I brought my bulldog, and Aaron and my bulldog just clicked, and I allowed Aaron to take Moon Pie around the carnival and let other kids play with him, but I gave him specific instructions: don't let anybody else hold him. You know, watch out if anybody gets rough with petting him and stuff. He did. I watched him because I was watching out for my dog, and he did exactly what I asked him to do. He came right back and wanted to go again, and I said, okay. So we had another situation, brought my bulldog and my camera, and at one point Aaron had my camera and my dog, and I said, Aaron, you are holding the two most valuable play toys that I have, and I trust you with them. And he did exactly what I said, and he was beaming. I saw him transform from an unhappy, unconfident boy to a happy. I mean, he would just sparkle when he'd come into church and see people and wave at everybody, and his confidence level was so in my short time of knowing him, and with the proper nurturing and watering and counseling that he got, he grew and he changed. He is changeable, he is teachable, and he is redeemable. And I ask you to have mercy on him.
Thank you, ma'am.
Ms. Duncan, could I be a witness for him now?
Ms. Duncar, that's your call.
Yes.
Do you need a moment to?
If I could have a moment.
Yes, ma'am.
I was previously told.
You might take a moment.
In closing, I don't know. I think Aaron is a prime candidate for a life sentence. He, as you heard, has had a very difficult 14 years. He was taken out of a horrible situation, put into another horrible situation. And when the one person who stood between him and the vacuum cleaner left was taken out by defects, he was there by himself when Elizabeth was taken away. And that was about...
I was still home.
Okay.
Defects didn't take me until after, when I was placed into a hospital when I attempted to OD.
And that happened right before the two incidents. I believe that this incident and the juvenile court incident happened soon after Elizabeth was removed from the home and Aaron was left there by himself. after the juvenile court incident. He was placed back in that same home that Elizabeth had been removed from by DFACS. And I think that the courts in both Graham and Roper are very clear that it says in Graham, if the juvenile should not be deprived, accordingly, the juvenile should not be deprived of the opportunity to achieve maturity of judgment and self-recognition of human worth and potential, with no chance to leave prison before life's end, because maturity can lead to that considered reflection, which is the foundation for remorse, renewal, and rehabilitation. I think that Aaron has not been given a chance yet in his 14 years to come to his full potential. I think less so than any other 14-year-old. I'm sure it can be said for any 14-year-old that they have not reached their full potential. But Aaron has been given virtually no chance. And because of that, I think it certainly would be inappropriate to lock him away without the chance of parole. And like I said, a life sentence does not mean he will be paroled. A life sentence just means that we recognize that there is a chance that Aaron is redeemable and that he could, in 30 years, in 35 years, in 40 years, whenever the parole board decides to decide on his case, that he has the chance to become a functioning member of society. And because of that, we would ask for an imposition of a life sentence in this case.
Thank you, Ms. Duncar. Ms. Payne?
First of all, I would like to point out with respect to the Graham case that one of the things that the court commented on in their opinion in that case was that the court has recognized that defendants who do not kill, who do not intend to kill, or foresee that life will be taken are categorically less deserving of the most serious forms of punishment than are murderers. They also make a very distinguished remark at the end of their opinion, which is where they talk about the fact that the Constitution prohibits the imposition of a life without parole sentence on a juvenile offender who did not commit a homicide. They could have easily stated that the Constitution prohibits a life without parole sentence for a juvenile, rather than make it that specific. In addition, one absent remark on behalf of the defense here is any apology from the defendant. Every single person that talked for him apologized to this family, but Aaron Schmidt did not apologize to this family. And I think that in and of itself is very indicative of a depraved and malignant heart who isn't sorry. Your Honor, at this point, the family, I'd like for the family to have an opportunity to address, Your Honor, and I'd like to end with the Calahan parents, but I don't know who else wants to go first. And if you would, state your name for the record, and then just speak loudly and clearly so that they can understand. If you need, take as much time as y'all need. Okay.
My name's Leslie Coffey. I'm the godmother of Alana and the other Calahan children. I'm also Betty Jo's best friend.
Thank you.
We've known each other since we were about 4 years old. I first like to read a letter that one of her friends have written as an impact statement. It says, "To whom it may concern, Alana Calahan was more than just an average boy-crazy 14-year-old girl. She was a unique child of God and a better best friend than anyone deserves. She acquired dreams that moved mountains, had a sculpted smile that brightened my darkest days, and eyes that granted hope. Alana used to ride with me to church every Wednesday and Sunday. More often than not, Aaron would be in her front yard with her brothers. I've known Aaron since elementary school, and his dead eyes never seemed to stray. Alana mentioned that he was pretty much a brother to her. She was never one to judge, and she accepted everyone with love. Aaron snatched the life of a girl who the world needed, who I needed. He betrayed a family that treated him like he really belonged. Heartlessly, he shattered the lives of hundreds of people. Students, families, friends, and churches were left mourning with no end because Aaron is a monster. What could any girl do against a hateful beast with a gun? I know that Aaron would have forgiven him in a heartbeat. I know that Alana would have forgiven him in a heartbeat for this tragedy because she was that kind of person. while Aaron sits in some detention center with his biggest worry being boredom. I cannot even begin to imagine how anyone would dare viciously manipulate the life of someone so innocent, but I assume that does not matter to Aaron. I pray that this trial will reward closure to the family and the feeling of safety back to our community. Aaron may be a seriously traumatized, neglected 14-year-old, but so are thousands of others. This is no justification for cold-blooded murder. Sincerely, Emily Williamson.
Thank you, ma'am.
This is my goddaughter, Alana. She's no longer here. I was at work when my 18-year-old daughter called me and said, "Mama, Amanda just called, said get to the house now, get to the house now." I said, "Honey, I can't leave right now." I thought that maybe Alana had fell off the four-wheeler, had broke her leg. That's what I was assuming. Not more than 10 minutes later, my coworker answered the phone. Here's my daughter screaming and yelling and crying. That's when I found out what had happened to Alana. I'm a nurse, and I do work at a medical prison. I deal with inmates every day that have done certain things. I threw the keys at my coworker, said I've got to go, and I left. I couldn't get to my best friend. They wouldn't let me go down there. I had my godchildren. I had Haley there. Didn't know where Amanda was, didn't know where Chase was. We're waiting on little Paul to get off the bus. Her other brother, Jason, was in Korea, and her dad was stuck in a snowstorm when this happened. Sorry. I have seen what it's done to this family, to my family. They have had financial problems, emotional problems, psychological problems. They stayed at my house. I've seen Amanda have nightmares, which I don't know if she realized. My godson Chase coming up to me saying, "Mama Leslie, I don't remember Alana looking like that. I don't remember Alana looking like this. I remember," and I'm sorry, I remember her braces coming out. It's done a lot to this family. And they asked for mercy. Where was the mercy that he gave to Alana? He was the judge, the jury, and the executioner. She did nothing. Where was the mercy for Alana? I know that you're 15 years old, but you know the difference between right and wrong at the age of 14. You have to deal with what you dealt with, what you did. This family has to live with it for the rest of their lives. You have to deal with it for the rest of your life. Forgive you for what you've done, but you have to deal with it. You have to live with it. And you've got to understand, you did not only affect one family, you affected hundreds and thousands of people. I pray that you get the help that you deserve, that you need, but I pray you never get out of prison. Because you can get out of prison when you're 50 years old. You can have children still. You can have a life, but where's Alana? Alana can't have children. Alana can't go to college. Alana can't be here with us because of what you did. You are a monster. And I'm sorry. I believe you need to stay in prison for the rest of your life. That's all I've got to say.
Thank you, ma'am.
Haley's there, Alana's older sister. My dad wasn't here when my sister passed away. My sister's death has affected my family emotionally, physically, and mentally. Cool down. Take some breaths. My little sister looked up to me, my other sister, and my older brother. We were her three role models. My sister was pretty much the only one out of all of us that had her mindset, a goal, what she wanted to achieve as in life. She wanted to go to Harvard. She wanted to try to go to Yale. She wanted to be a lawyer. She wanted to do all of that. And now that my sister has been taken away from us, we won't have that in our family. My sister, like they say, my sister might be passed away, but she's here with us in spirits. Granted, don't get me wrong, yeah, both families of our families have lost somebody, but our sibling will never come back. We have to go see her in the ground, and we have to look at a tombstone with the picture on it. We can't go physically touch her. We can't go physically tell her how we feel. We can't feel her arms around us, as in on their behalf. They have that. They can still do that. We're not eligible to do that. My brothers they're terrified. They don't open up to nobody. My brothers really have very emotional, destructive problems now because of the situation that has occurred. And my mother, my father, and my sister will tell you, and so will my godmother, my brothers don't go nowhere without letting us know where they're going, who they're with. They used to be like, oh, we're just going up the street. Now they give us numbers. They ask for our cell phones when they go places. They don't want to be alone. They're scared that this can happen again. Because when we moved to Harlem, we were told nothing will ever happen to us. We're a military family. We move pretty much every 4 years. And to come to find out that from us moving from place to place gave us plenty of friends, plenty of different places, where we could call homes. But my sister still is not here with us. My sister has affected many people, thousands of people, Maryland, here, Texas, all over. And with my sister being gone, nobody has her comfort anymore. We just have her spiritually. We don't have her here to hold our hands and to let us know right from, oh, this is how I feel about the situation. And the main thing that I miss the most about my sister is texting me or calling me, asking me, can she wear my clothes? Can she use my hair straightener? Can I take pictures with your camera? I don't have that no more, and I miss that. But this is my sister. And she means the world to all of us. And now that she's not here, it has hurt us in every which way.
I'm Alana Calahan. I'm going to read a letter on behalf of our god sister, Jessica. I know no one will read this message, honey, but I know somehow you will still get it in heaven. I love you. I miss everything about you. Your smile, your goofy little laugh, the way you used to always let me do your hair and makeup but no lipstick, the way you always wanted to hang out with me. To be honest, I regret not letting you stay with me Saturday night. I should have. I could have had one more night with you just to hang out and talk. Amanda's really beating herself up. She isn't really showing it, but I know she is. She's hurting bad. If you can you tell her it's okay, that you're okay? We will figure out everything about why this was done to you and why it happened. And you know what? God has a plan, baby girl. He needed you to do something for him greater. You did your time on earth and accomplished everything that God wanted you to do. I know how you went was horrible, but I'm happy you didn't have to suffer. Today I got a tattoo of your name on my wrist. Every day I will think of you in my heart forever. If I ever have a little girl, I will name her after you because I want my child to be just like you. I know you always want me to go to church. I'm going to start because you wanted me to and because I haven't been on the right path lately. And I know God wants me to get on the right path so I can come to heaven and see you and my grandpa and aunt one day. Have you met them? I never met my aunt. She died before I was born. But my grandpa is a pretty goofy guy. I bet he is up there playing some poker with you. He might be winning. I'm trying to keep my head high for your mama. I made her a little scrapbook type thing and gave her a big picture frame with 2 of your pictures and a letter I wrote you. I wish you were here, but I know you're better off with God. You are a bright, smart, funny, loving young woman. Nothing in this world ever brought you down. I had a puppy once. When I was little, it was a cute little black puppy. Kind of crazy, though. Did you meet the puppy? If God lets you keep pets, I would want you to have the puppy. I know you would take care of it. Oh, and Marley, my little gray kitten I used to have, he died. But I want you to please play with him. Give him the love and care I did too. I really can't believe you're gone. I just can't. It hasn't fully hit me yet. I keep thinking you're going to walk through my door and say, hey, Mama Leslie, hey, Jessica. But I know it won't happen. When I die, will you be there with God waiting for me? Will you ask him if it's okay if you come with my family that has passed, because I want to see you. I miss you a lot. I miss everything, even though you are my annoying little sister. I love you, baby girl. Fly high, my angel. Watch over all of us. Keep us safe. Oh, and little Chase, ask God to help him. This is going to be so much on him. I love you and God. I know I have made a lot of mistakes in my life, but this is a wake-up call that I need to get my life straight, because you never know when your life is going to end. I love you, baby cakes. Love always, Jessica. I will never get to go to the end of the driveway to pick up my little sister again and have her tell me all about the fabulous drama of today's middle school. I will never be able to tell her to get out of my room, to put my clothes back where she gets them from, and to keep my shoes where they are so I can put them on. I can never yell at her again for constantly using my makeup. And I can never take another picture with her. And I'm so grateful that one day out of the blue, she just wanted to take pictures, and there all of us were taking them. Because I can never have another one. The only thing that we have left to hold on to are the memories. And to me, it's just not enough. I need my sister. When I have a down day, she was my rock. If I couldn't go to my parents and talk to them, there she was. Only 14, an 18-year-old's talking to her about her problems. And I can't do that anymore. I believe he shouldn't have mercy. If he was so godly, so churchy, he should know his commandments, and one of them being, thou shalt not kill. He took my sister, and then he watched me try to save her. No emotion on his face, not a care in his heart. And I believe it should be a life for a life. He should not walk again out the doors of a prison. He should not get to enjoy today's and the future's fun and technology and everything else. He just should not have that right. And yes, I care about him, but he took something that's more valuable to me. He might have had it that if he took her, he could replace it. No one can replace her. She was her own self in her own way, and we can never in any kind of way have another Alana in this world. If you look at the news, there's thousands of children, especially in Africa, no parents, no caring about anything except each other. What makes them different? What makes him different than them? They're not going out pulling triggers on people. I believe he did it because he's just heartless. He might have called us a family, but what family goes and shoots each other? Kills them cold, and then lies about everything. It just bewilders me, and I strongly believe that he should just stay where he's at.
Thank you, ma'am. Madam DA.
Your Honor, Betty Calahan.
Let me just mention something to you. I'm not trying to do the war with thing, but if anybody needs something, I've got it over here for anybody who needs it, okay?
Good day,
Ms.
County.
Callahan, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I'm Alana's mother. I have two statements. I'm going to read one from my in-laws. Judge Michael N. Anus, my husband and I request that you take into consideration our feelings and opinions when handling down the sentence of Lacy Aaron Schmidt for the murder of Alana Calahan. Alana was our granddaughter, whom we love greatly and miss. She was a lovely, intelligent young lady who impacted the lives of all she came in contact with. She had many friends through social media as well as contacts at school. She was a contributing member to society through her church and various school activities. Although she was young, she had her priorities in order. She knew what was important. Love of family, love of God, love of friends. Her goal was to someday become a lawyer. And through her determination and hard work and support, we would like to think that she would have achieved her goals. Alana's death has been devastating to her family and has affected them mentally, physically, emotionally, and financially. The family has been involved with counseling. Amanda and Chase were diagnosed with post-traumatic stress disorder. They will forever carry the images of Alana's destroyed face, lifeless body in their heads, never being able to completely wipe these images away. There's very hard for adults to deal with, but unbelievable what a 9 and an 18-year-old had to go through. Since the murder, their lives have been completely changed. Safety and trust issue dominates everything they do. New locks were installed on the doors. The exterior entrance was relocated and landscaping was done to allow visibility of visitors. The two boys are aged 10 and 11, are terrified that Aaron will be free and able to come in contact with them. They deal with this fear every day. Aaron Schmidt, a cold-blooded murder, our grandchild, with no thoughts given of how it would affect everyone involved. He moved her without so much of a second thought and without one bit of remorse. We believe he would do the same again if someone were to keep him from having something he wanted or if he were angry. We feel he should not be given the opportunity to experience the joys of freedom that Alana will never have. We request he be given a life sentence without possible parole. Thank you. Very respectful. Paul R. Calahan Sr. and Jane E. Calahan. That was her grandparents. And this is my impact on how it has impacted our lives. On January 31st, 2011, our lives were forever changed by unnecessary murder of our daughter, Alana Calahan. The death has caused us financially hardship that we are currently trying to overcome. The emotional and physical impacts are the greatest. After the death, the house had an eerie feeling. Everything didn't seem real. When our kids came home the following week to sleep in our room for over a month on the floor in our bedroom, and even today the boys don't really go outside by themselves to play. Everybody in the house is going to a psychiatrist. Chase has been diagnosed with post-traumatic stress, Amanda too. Even a couple of the boys' friends have also been affected. You don't expect to bury your 14-year-old daughter. You Your 14-year-old should bear you. My children lost their sister by the hands of a monster. My boys lost their best friend who would go four-wheeling and go on picnics and take them walks with them down by the creek. Alana had a dream to one day be an attorney. She wanted to go to Yale or Harvard. She never got the chance to go, but her daddy went and visited for her. Alana was a member of 2 churches, friendly, outgoing, funny. Most importantly, she was always smiling. The boys still fear that one day Aaron will come back and hurt them, even though he will be in jail for a long time. We believe that life without parole is the best sentence he can get, and will give our kids a peace of mind. I wouldn't want him to be able to do this to another family or community. I don't hate Aaron, but I hate what he has done, and maybe one day he will tell us the truth of why. And it hurts because she never got to go to her 8th grade social. The dress still hangs up in her room. Her room is still the same. And I keep having dreams that if I change her room, she'll come back and say, "Why did you get rid of my stuff?" But I know it's not going to happen. If he gets life without parole, at least they can still go and see him and have that one-on-one. He never did. We used to go to the skating rink and drop her off every Friday. Now we go to the cemetery to put flowers for her. I just don't want him to get out because I'm scared that he will come back and do it to my boys. And I thank God every day I did not come home to Amanda, Chase, and Paul also being killed because I was at work. I work in a hospital too. It was devastating, and it still is. And every day I have to fake it to make it, because all I want to do is sit in a corner and curl up and don't even exist. But I have my 9 and 10-year-olds that I have to exist for, and my other children. Please don't let him get out. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Paul Calahan, father. I really don't know where to begin. If you caught me outside the courtroom, I could talk about this all day long, no problem. In the courtroom, the emotions are very, very high. We should not be here, period. If this was a case of breaking and entering, somebody was breaking my house, I could live with this. This is hard for me to live with. Knowing that somebody we took in did this. We take in kids all the time. There's not a kid that's not welcome at our house. I can't touch on what everybody has already said because it's kind of the same thing. He was there. We treated him the same. He picked her up from the school bus all the time. So we treated him no differently. This is what makes us very hard. I had this sitting here, keep my emotions in control. It's been up and down. Having this go through my head, but of course you get up here, it never comes out the same way. We're very forgiving people, and that's our downfall. My wife said, even after I got back that Tuesday, that Wednesday we were staying in a hotel, and we got up, and they were showing the 6:30 news, and they were showing the interview of his sister, Diane Chitty. And the thing my wife wanted to do was she wanted to go see her. She wanted to see how she was doing. When we came up for a bond hearing, my chaplain was with us. I had him go to his family and say a prayer. Why? Maybe that's just the way we are. I can't say it's wrong. I can't say it's right. But we've looked up at that family, which now maybe we shouldn't be. We wanted to actually approach that family. I've talked to the preacher. I've talked to the investigator. And they said, wait till things calm down to see how things go. And looking back, maybe they're right. We're the victims here. People say 2 families lost. No, this is not a case of an accident on the road where 2 kids lost their lives. He made this conscious decision to do what he did. I don't understand it. My wife doesn't understand it. Other people I've talked to doesn't understand it. I'm a reservist. I'm getting ready for school again. I was at school last year. I went back last year. And that fear is still in my head. We have friends look out for us. And it puts them out a little bit because now things are different. I work at the Richmond County Jail. I've had inmates ask me, why? Why? I cannot answer a why. I can answer my friends and family in the courtroom, why? Because we don't know. He was one of our kids. He went with us everywhere. So we don't know why. We're just at a loss. A life without parole would set well with my younger kids because they suffered the most. Set well, it would go along with my wife and my other kids. Me, I don't know. That's just how I feel. If what he did was wrong. She's got to be punished for it without a doubt. Getting out, yes. Not getting out, I'm sorry, would be beneficial because then that's one less I have to worry about, and then my kids I can work on getting them straight. I'm an emotional wreck. I stay strong because my family and friends need it, and I can't be a basket case and not get things done. We do have the support of family, our friends, the church. I have it from the military. I have it from the Richmond County Sheriff's Office. But it's still not enough. This is not enough. My daughter and I were there yesterday because a friend of ours, said dad just passed away. He's buried 10 feet away from her. So we saw her yesterday. That's all we have to see is a piece of bronze. His family can go see him anytime they want to on visitation days. They can laugh with him. They can joke with him. They can watch him grow old. I can't do it. I will never do that. Then it hurts. I do not want to see him get out. And I'm sure, I know, I don't want nothing bad to happen, of course, because, like I said, we've cared for him. That's just the way we are. No, we don't really hate him. People say, well, if it was my kid, he'd be dead and I'd be in jail. You can't say that until you put in that spot. And I don't wish this upon anybody. This is not a natural death. This is not an accident. This is cold-blooded murder. And he needs to stay in and maybe get the help that he needs on the inside. And getting out, I just don't see it. I don't see it. He had the help with us. He had the second chance with us. We knew what had happened in the past. My wife and his sister talked. We overlooked it. We talked to our kids about it. If he was to do anything to let us know. He never did anything like that. Our boys never came to us and everything. So he had a chance at our house. He ate at our house. He rode four-wheelers at our house. He helped me around my house. He went to Martinez when we would go to see her mother in Martinez. He was always with us. So he had a second chance. People can't say he had a second chance. We didn't treat my 9-year-old was trying to cop him, dress like him. This is the way kids do it. So he had a second chance at our house. Why he waited till I left to go to school, maybe it was easier. But he had a second chance at our house. We gave him a second chance at our house. He blew it. He needs to stay where he's at. He needs to stay there without parole. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Your Honor, is another just mere.
There's going to be trouble. Let's have it. Keep your eyes open. Pull that trigger.
Well, that's right.
I'll find you, and I'll kill you. Now all I need is a fresh horse, a saddle, and a gun.
Amanda has one more thing she'd like to say.
Miss Amanda.
This was a Facebook message from her best friend, Kathy Hunt, who's over there. It starts, "Hey, best friend, how you doing up there? I bet you're loving it up there. Well, baby girl, I miss you like crazy. Where do I even start? I can't say anything. It won't come out how I feel. I just wish you could come back. On January 31st, Kayla called me, and I was walking to my room, and Kayla was crying. I asked, what's wrong, Kayla? And she said Alana died, and I lost it. Everything in my body stopped, and I cried and cried. I did not have any sleep. I went to school the next day because something told me I could do it. I went to school crying. A lot of my friends cried on me about you. All I could do was stop crying and be strong for them. I went to the office and talked to this girl about you, and I told her I know you for about 2 years, and then Georgia started crying even more. I looked at her and said it will be okay. Since you passed away from me, I've been in so much stress. I can't talk about you to no one besides my godmom. No one will understand the pain I have. I still look at people with a smile and hold the pain in. When people ask me how am I doing, I say I'm great because I'm hiding things. I just want my best friend back. The girl that I used to be able to run to when I was happy or sad, the girl that I've always called me about boys, and the girl that would run to me whenever we went to church. Why was it you? I can't even go stay the night with you anymore. To stay up with you and just talk about us and boys. When I went to your house for the first time, you wasn't there. I couldn't handle it. When my mom was driving you, where we used to drive four-wheelers, I could see you smiling and having a good time. And then I went in your room, and where me and you used to fight, and I just cried. Alana, your sister said, remember me dancing to Barbie Girl? I remember that. I remember when we went to camp, you loved it. My best friend is gone now, and she is singing it there. I'm just trying my best to help others and smile like you did, Alana. I'm crying now. Every day I keep telling myself she's in a better place. When I saw my best friend lying there, I lost it. I told her, okay, Alana, stop playing, come back, and she didn't say anything. Then I said, okay, Alana, I see you when I get there. I lost my world. I have nothing. I have to be strong for you. It's not funny. I see your mom cry in front of me, and all I can do is hold her. I went to your door, to your room, and said, okay, Alana, come out and give me the biggest hug you can. Then it didn't happen. Then my mom started crying. You brought Pineview a gift. We are a family now. I love you, Alana Calahan. You are always my best friend. I miss you. Love, Kathy Hunt.
Thank you, ma'am.
Your Honor, as just a housekeeping matter, if for whatever reason the Supreme Court would overrule life without parole sentence for juveniles, the sentence would be commuted.
I'm sorry, I'm not hearing what you're saying.
If the Supreme Court were to overrule or hold unconstitutional juvenile life without parole, they would be commuted to a life sentence. I think it's a risk that the family would prefer to take, but in addition to that, Your Honor, I mean, all these people that are here today behind me are here in support of Alana and her family. There are so many people that have been affected by this, and no one should have to stand up here and tell you why they miss their 14-year-old daughter or sister or friend. There are two people here that are not, or two people that are not here that should also not be forgotten. Little Paul and Chase. Chase was with Amanda when they found Alana. And I can't imagine what that does to that child. I think that needs to be taken into consideration, that it wasn't just the murder of Alana. It was everything else that happened. It was dragging her body 200 feet into the woods. It was watching Amanda scream as she was getting the blood out of her sister's mouth, attempting CPR. That cannot be forgotten. That's more than just murder. That's cold. And again, Your Honor, the state would just reiterate the hope that Your Honor will sentence this man to juvenile life without parole, so that no family and no community ever has to suffer at his hands ever again.
Thank you, ma'am.